Now at 9, court costs could soon help support the salaries of law enforcement personnel in Missouri. Plus, Freeman Health System in Joplin demonstrated a modular hospital in the event of a disaster. And Parsons, Kansas shows its family support with a family-friendly workplace summit.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Missouri voters will soon decide the future of law enforcement funding in the state. This is KOAM News at 9. I'm Anthony Saviello. Amendment 6 asks whether the Missouri Constitution should allow the use of court costs and fees to support the salaries and benefits of certain law enforcement personnel. KOAM Samantha Walker has more on what voters need to know about what's on their November ballot.
A yes vote on Missouri Amendment 6 would amend the state constitution to allow court costs and fees to support benefits for current and former sheriffs, prosecutors, and circuit attorneys. A court fee was used for this until the Missouri Supreme Court ruled in 2021 this practice could violate the right to court access. This amendment would nullify that decision. Missouri State Senator Rusty Black filed the initial bill that has become Amendment 6. In a column on the Senate website, Black says the amendment would, quote, ensure a robust retirement fund for sheriffs as they approach the end of their careers. But the executive director of the National Police Accountability Project says the amendment could create problems.
It is problematic for court fees to be a source of revenue for law enforcement officers because, that does create, this kind of incentive that we've seen to police for profit, to prosecute for profit. If there is this kind of connection between how many cases you have and, what your revenue is going to be for a particular year.
The Missouri Secretary of State's office says if passed, this measure will have no impact on taxes. Samantha Walker, KOAM News.
You can learn more about what you'll be voting on this November on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com/elections. We'll check in with Chief Meteorologist Doug Hetty for a first look at our weather.
Well, it definitely turned out to be a warmer day, but a very nice Wednesday for us today. A little bit warmer than what we saw yesterday. 83 is where we topped out. Cold start, 45, so crisp during the morning hours. 76 is our average high, record high, 93 set back in 1953, and our temperatures over the next couple days are going to be closer to that record. Most of us now upper 60s to lower 70s. We'll drop back into the lower 60s later on tonight. We have a little bit of a south wind at about 5 to 10. These are going to start to increase later tonight into the daytime hours tomorrow. So we're going to have gusts 15, 20, upwards to about 25, and that's going to help our temperatures heat up even more. Clear skies, that's what we have out there right now. That's what we're going to see as we go through the overnight hours tonight. But it does get hotter over the next few days. We're going to look at that here in just a bit.
All right, Doug, thanks. A felony traffic stop in Joplin today turns into a car crash. Authorities initiated the stop around 11:30 this morning. The driver then took off during the stop. The chase ended at 20th and Connecticut with a T-bone crash involving another vehicle. The driver in the uninvolved vehicle was not injured. JPD told KOAM Shannon Becker the two wanted on felony warrants were transported under police guard to an area hospital where they suffered non-life-threatening injuries. You can head over to our KOAMnewsnow.com for more details as they become available. MoDOT and AAA Missouri are asking teen drivers to show me your score. It's a competition intended to promote and reward teen safe driving in Missouri with up to $15,000 in prizes up for grabs for schools, teens, and faculty. The challenge also highlights Missouri's recently enacted Sidens binning law, which prohibits the handheld use of an electronic device for all drivers. You can learn more about the Show Me Your Score challenge on our website. In the wake of Hurricane Helene, much of the consideration turns to immediate medical services. Today, Freeman Health System addressed that issue with a demonstration of a modular hospital. The on-the-spot hospital sets up in just 90 minutes and provides a triage center that handles up to 6 patients. The modular hospital can provide mass communications, satellite, 5G cellular backup systems, radios, emergency lighting in case of worst-case scenarios.
So this is just a good chance for us to practice ourselves. We've invited all the community to be involved. local fire departments, emergency managers, the other hospitals in the area. And our assets are their assets. You know, when we're in healthcare, every single provider, we're healthcare providers. And we're there together during disasters.
We'll take a deeper look into this later in our show coming up. Human resource departments and companies gathered in Parsons for the Family Friendly Workplaces Summit. The summit aimed to promote the support of families in the workplace through accommodations like paternity and maternity leave. They say the family-forward businesses see higher retention rates at their companies.
Also benefit from additional successful recruitment when it comes to employees. It's also about making sure that we have, we're supporting the development, the early development of our children and our future workforce.
She believes that by workplaces following family-forward principles and accommodating families, this will lead to a stronger Kansas economy. City of Carthage held its Paint the Town Blue celebration today. Food trucks and vendors were all set up at the high school parking lot by 5:30. Today's highlight came in the form of the homecoming parade, which kicked off at 6:15 and traveled from the 6th grade center to the high school football stadium.
My favorite part about being here tonight is probably going on the flow and just like getting to see everybody that like came here to like support the teams and stuff.
My favorite part about tonight was being able to be the only Carthage Junior High float in the whole homecoming parade.
The Carthage football team will play Joplin at home this Friday. Coming up, pushing for vaccinations as flu season ramps up.
As winter approaches, health officials are pleading with the public to get their vaccine shots, hoping to avoid another dangerous outbreak. I'm Matt Finn in Los Angeles. The details coming up.
The CDC says now is the time to get both your COVID and flu vaccines. And there's new evidence the shots could help protect you from the new COVID strain. Fox News correspondent Matt Finn has more from Los Angeles.
As was the case during last season, we're dealing with multiple respiratory diseases.
The weather is getting colder and doctors across the country are starting to report increased cases of flu, RSV, and COVID. Those three respiratory viruses produced a so-called triple-demic in past years. But so far, there don't appear to be any major outbreaks. Though health officials are keeping an eye on XEC, the new COVID variant spreading quickly in Europe and the U.S. The good news, it's closely related to KP2, the strain targeted by the most recent COVID vaccine boosters, meaning they should provide some protection against serious infection and any lingering symptoms.
It protects you against long COVID. Look, I don't want to have this brain fog and this racing heart rate and this fatigue that people get due to COVID.
But with vaccination rates lagging, the CDC is making a big new push to get folks to roll up their sleeves for both the COVID and flu shots at the same time. They're available to all Americans 6 months or older, and officials say it's the best way to ensure you protect yourself and your family from both viruses.
I want to lead by example. It's why I got vaccinated today with my flu shot. I want to encourage folks that you can get your flu and COVID on the same day. And I think we all as leaders want to lead by example.
The CDC is also recommending the RSV vaccine for young children, senior citizens, and anyone at risk for serious infection. In Los Angeles, Matt Finn, Fox News.
If you're doing home COVID tests this fall and you're using a government-sent test kit from the past, take an important step before you feel safe using that kit. Scientists at the Cleveland Clinic say if you're using free FDA test kits sent to your home from the last time they were issued, double check the expiration dates on the kits. An expired kit could give you a false negative. Read on your COVID status, meaning you think you're safe from the virus when you may possibly actually have it. Cleveland Clinic says go to the FDA's website to look up your test kit to see whether it has an extended expiration date. More women in the U.S. are being diagnosed with breast cancer. A new report from the American Cancer Society found cases increased 1% each year from 2012 to 2021. Based on the data, nearly 311,000 women will be diagnosed with invasive breast cancer this year. The report did have some good news. The overall breast cancer death rate dropped about 44% between 1989 and 2022. That is largely thanks to advances in treatments and early detection. When broken down by race, black women continue to be more likely to die from the disease, even though they are less likely to develop it. Doug is next with a complete look at the forecast, and later we'll head to the East Coast where recovery efforts are still underway.
Nearly a week after Hurricane Helene, President Biden is getting a first-hand look at some of the devastation. I'm Caroline Elliott in Nashville, North Carolina, with the latest on recovery efforts coming up.
Well, of course, it turned out to be a nice Wednesday for us today. Plenty of sunshine, a little bit warmer than what we had on Tuesday, but still very nice. It looks great outside right now. Nice shot of our Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex tower cam. Of course, we're looking at downtown Joplin. All right, warmer today. Look at this. Yesterday, mid-70s. We dropped into the mid-40s during the morning hours, so it was kind of chilly, but warmer this afternoon as we went into lower 80s for afternoon highs. We're still kind of hanging on, mainly upper 60s to lower 70s at this point in time. The winds are going to start to pick up a little bit for us on Thursday, and what that will do in return is warm our temperatures up. So a south wind at about 5 to 10, but we're going to get gusts at times 20, 25 miles per hour throughout the daytime hours on Thursday. On Friday, we get another weak little front or wind shift line is going to drop in, but still it's going to be kind of breezy as we go into Friday afternoon as well. Clear skies, nothing going on across the entire four-state area. Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, all looking clear. In fact, if you take from Joplin points westward, there's nothing going on. That's our weather as we go through the next several days. No big storm systems heading in our direction. Let me show you why. We always look for the jet stream. The jet stream is where the storm systems like to hang out. You can see these white lines to our north, very close together. That's where the winds are the strongest. That's where our jet stream is. But because the storm systems hang out where the jet stream is, if it's not down here, we don't get any storm systems. Now we get a weak little front on Friday. Here comes another little kink in the upper level flow. Another front on Sunday. But as we go into next week, no storm systems, meaning we are going to stay mainly dry over the next 7 days. Maybe some rain chances try to sneak in here by the time we get into late next week. All right, let me walk you through time. By morning, temperatures are going to be sitting lower 60s. Quick warm up, sunshine, mid 80s by noon. I think most of us will get up 90, 91 degrees during the afternoon. Let's go 91 in Stockton, 91 in Bella Vista, 92 in Grove, Chanute. Also up to about 92 degrees. Thursday night, drop back lower 60s again. Friday, we have that weak little front that shifts through, but still, it doesn't do much for our temperatures. We still go 88, 89 degrees. 62 in the morning, 85 by noon. High temp 91 on your Thursday. Let's jump into Friday evening. Four-state Friday night high school football. We're going to be holding on to decent weather. A little warm, kickoff 81, 72 by the fourth quarter. And if we take a sneak peek at the weekend, still hot, still dry as we go into Saturday and Sunday. 91 on Thursday. Let's go 88 on Friday. 91 on Saturday. Sunday 86. But look at Monday. High temp 78, 80 on Tuesday. So we do cool down a little bit early next week.
All right, Doug, thanks. Days after Hurricane Helene, crews are still working to locate missing people. It comes as folks across the southeast continue to face shortages of water and electricity. Fox News Multimedia reporter Caroline Elliott has more.
President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris are getting a first-hand look at some of the devastation in the southeast today. This comes as crews are still working to restore power in this area as the search continues for those who are still missing. Running water, electricity, and cell service still out for parts of the southeast nearly a week after Hurricane Helene.
This is like a Katrina on steroids. You know, everybody that I know is isolated from everything else.
With the death toll quickly growing, emergency crews are trying to navigate blocked roads and feet of floodwater to restore service and reach people trapped in their homes.
This is an issue of life. This is elderly people that are dying.
President Biden is in the Carolinas today to assess the damage. His administration says FEMA is distributing meals, generators, and tarps to hard-hit communities. More than 150,000 households have registered with the agency for assistance, and that number is expected to rise.
It could be something that you come up a little bit short on. FEMA can look at that if people are underinsured and consider on a case-by-case basis making up the difference.
Still, folks here say recovery has been painfully slow. Many communities are cut off due to mountains and inaccessible roads, forcing food, water, and essential supplies to be delivered by air.
You know, the trauma is going to wear off after a few days, and that's when things can get a little hectic.
North Carolina officials say President Biden gave the green light to bring in military units for long-term recovery. In Asheville, North Carolina, Caroline Elliott, Fox News.
Coming up, the port strike enters into its second day. We'll talk about how it is already affecting the U.S. Ports along the East and Gulf Coast are closed for a second straight day. Union negotiations remain at a stalemate. Fox Business correspondent Jeff Flock has the latest from the Port Newark in New Jersey.
It is day 2 of the strike here at the Port of Newark, and if the shippers were testing the resolve of the strikers, perhaps you can hear their resolve seems pretty strong. The strikers, the International Longshoremen's Association, getting support not only from President Biden, who has urged the shippers to come with a better offer, but also from truckers, the guys that pick up the loads that come in through the ports. Yeah, those truckers on multiple occasions have come by the picket lines and have tooted at least or honked their support. The truckers are standing to be out of a job very soon. Once the final deliveries get made of stuff that's already come in, they'll have nothing to do, but right now they're still in support. Also, local officials in support of the strikers as well, even though it may have a chilling effect on their economies. They say they support, in large measure, the strike.
It's time that we address this situation and we make sure that humans are not going to be replaced by machines and automation.
I leave you with a map of where shipments stand in relation to the ports along the Atlantic coast and the Gulf Coast. Right now we're told 120 plus ships are on their way to the ports. Of course, they have nowhere to go. Just outside the ports of New York and New Jersey, at least 6 and perhaps more ships are already here and at Anchorage. I don't know where they'll all go, but right now the strike continues. At the Port of Newark, I'm Jeff Flock with the Fox Business Network.
A run on toilet paper is making it feel like 2020 all over again. Social media reports show people are panic buying toilet paper in response to Tuesday's major port strike, leading to shortages in stores across the U.S., but it's all unnecessary. That's because the strike at ports from Maine to Texas will have absolutely zero impact on the TP supply. The overwhelming majority of U.S. toilet paper comes from domestic factories, and most of the rest comes from Canada and Mexico. That means it most likely arrives by rail or truck, not ship. So there's no need to reenact the pandemic bum rush to stockpile TP over shortage fears. JP Morgan Chase is planning to open around 100 new branches in lower-income neighborhoods with both urban and rural communities. Some of the locations will have spaces to host small businesses and conduct workshops on how to handle money. Banks are required by law to serve and lend to low-income communities, but they've been scaling back their presence following mergers. The bank says the Chase locations will offer alternatives to high-fee services such as check cashers and payday lenders. Bank of America customers reported problems accessing their online bank accounts Wednesday. Some customers say they are unable to log into their account, while others say their accounts display no balance despite having money in the bank. According to Down Detector, which collects data on outages, the peak of the reports occurred in the early afternoon. Bank of America has not commented on the reports. Coming up, we'll take a look at the fattest bear week in Alaska. Well, voting starts today in the annual Fat Bear Week contest at Alaska's Katmai National Park and Preserve, with viewers picking their favorite among a dozen brown bears fattened up to survive the winter. The contest, which is in the 10th year, celebrates the resiliency of the 2,200 bears that live in the preserve on the Alaskan Peninsula. The bracket this year features 12 bears, with 8 facing off against each other in the first round and 4 receiving byes to the second round. They've been packing on pounds all summer. They're not the only ones. The winner will face perhaps the largest bear on the river, 32 Chunk, a 20-year-old male who once devoured 32 salmon in 10 hours. He's estimated to weigh more than 1,200 pounds. I think I could beat that easily. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. Coming up, a recap of last night's vice presidential debate.
The first and likely only vice presidential debate this election is in the books. I'm Alexandria Hoff in Washington with more on how both sides of the aisle are responding. Coming up.
You're watching the 4 states' most watched news.
This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. I'm Anthony Saviello. Senator J.D. Vance and Governor Tim Walz are courting voters in multiple battleground states on Wednesday. It comes after their debate Tuesday night, which same them focus more on policy than personal attacks. Fox News correspondent Alexandria Hoff has more.
Fresh off the debate stage, Governor Tim Walz and Senator J.D. Vance returned to the campaign trail Wednesday with visits to crucial battleground states.
We're winning Pennsylvania. We're going to get this thing done.
Walz kicked off a bus tour through central Pennsylvania, while Vance made several stops in Michigan.
And it is great to be in the state that I think is going to be pivotal to giving us 270 electoral votes.
Tuesday night, they introduced themselves to voters during their first and only debate before November's election, focusing less on personal attacks and more on policy.
It wasn't a fist fight. It wasn't a name-calling fest. They were both very civil.
They debated a range of issues, including the economy, immigration, foreign policy, and abortion, but not without criticizing their opponent's running mate.
I think you want to solve this problem, but I don't think that Kamala Harris does.
A nearly 80-year-old Donald Trump talking about crowd sizes is not what we need in this moment.
Both the Harris and Trump campaigns are claiming victory.
When people see this debate, they saw 2 different visions for the country.
Senator Vance eloquently and effectively prosecuted the case against Kamala Harris's failed record.
But whether the debate will affect voters' decisions on Election Day is still to be determined.
The American people are still going to vote for the top of the ticket and not the vice president.
Vice President Harris has said that she wants another debate with former President Trump, but that does not seem likely to happen before Election Day. In Washington, Alexandria Hoff, Fox News.
Vice presidential candidates J.D. Vance and Tim Walz faced off yesterday. More than 500 registered voters who watched were polled after the debate, according to a CNN instant poll of debate watchers conducted by SSRS. The debate watchers were closely divided over which candidate did the better job. 51% said Vance won the debate and 49% said Walz won. Also, the event left viewers with more positive views of both candidates than they held pre-debate. The sample of debate watchers in the poll was 33% Democrat, 32% Republican, and 34% Independent. With 5 weeks until Election Day, voting is already underway across the U.S., but pre-election voting this year will drop from the pandemic-era highs of 2020. That's according to a CNN review of data from election officials and analytics firms Catalyst and Edison Research. As of Tuesday, more than 500,000 votes have already been cast in 27 states. It's a tiny fraction of the roughly 158 million pre-election votes cast for president in the 2020 election. The 2020 election featured historic levels of pre-election voting as the CDC recommended social distancing during the pandemic. A new Department of Homeland Security report warns the U.S. threat environment remains high ahead of the election and amid conflict in the Middle East. The annual assessment released Wednesday warns of possible threats from violent extremists driven by the heated political environment in the U.S. The assessment also mentions foreign and domestic threats from terrorist groups and others inspired by conflicts abroad. This report comes amid a wider Middle East conflict after Israel assassinated the head of Hezbollah and began a ground offensive in Lebanon. Iran retaliated on Tuesday by launching nearly 200 missiles at Israel. A little later, we'll show you how Freeman Health System is prepared to serve in the event of a disaster.
Well, of course, it turned out to be a nice Wednesday for us today. Plenty of sunshine, a little bit warmer than what we had on Tuesday, but still very nice. It looks great outside right now. Nice shot of our Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex Tower Cam. Of course, we're looking at downtown Joplin. All right, warmer today. Look at this. Yesterday, mid-70s. We dropped into the mid-40s during the morning hours, so it was kind of chilly, but warmer this afternoon as we went into the lower 80s. For afternoon highs. We're still kind of hanging on, mainly upper 60s to lower 70s at this point in time. The winds are going to start to pick up a little bit for us on Thursday, and what that will do in return is warm our temperatures up. So a south wind at about 5 to 10, but we're going to get gusts at times 20, 25 miles per hour throughout the daytime hours on Thursday. On Friday, we get another weak little front or wind shift line is going to drop in, but still it's going to be kind of breezy as we go into Friday afternoon as well. Clear skies, nothing going on across the entire four-state area. Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri, all looking clear. In fact, if you take from Joplin points westward, there's nothing going on. That's our weather as we go through the next several days. No big storm systems heading in our direction. Let me show you why. We always look for the jet stream. The jet stream is where the storm systems like to hang out. You can see these white lines to our north, very close together. That's where the winds are the strongest. That's where our jet stream is. But because the storm systems hang out where the jet stream is, if it's not down here, we don't get any storm systems. Now we get a weak little front on Friday. Here comes another little kink in the upper level flow. Another front on Sunday. But as we go into next week, no storm systems, meaning we are going to stay mainly dry over the next 7 days. Maybe some rain chances try to sneak in here by the time we get into late next week. All right, let me walk you through time. By morning, temperatures are going to be sitting lower 60s. Quick warm up, sunshine, mid 80s by noon. I think most of us will get up 90, 91 degrees during the afternoon. Let's go 91 in Stockton, 91 Bella Vista, 92 in Grove, Chanute. Also up to about 92 degrees. Thursday night, drop back lower 60s again. Friday, we have that weak little front that shifts through, but still, it doesn't do much for our temperatures. We still go 88, 89 degrees. 62 in the morning, 85 by noon. High temp 91 on your Thursday. Let's jump into Friday evening. Four-state Friday night high school football. We're going to be holding on to decent weather. A little warm, kickoff 81, 72 by the fourth quarter. And if we take a sneak peek at the weekend, still hot, still dry as we go into Saturday and Sunday. 91 on Thursday. Let's go 88 on Friday. 91 on Saturday. Sunday 86. But look at Monday. High temp 78, 80 on Tuesday. So we do cool down a little bit early next week.
All right, Doug, thanks. Coming up in sports, Miami High School softball hosts a regional tournament. Plus, the Royals try to finish off a sweep of the Orioles. John Dales has highlights from those games and more up next.
Playoffs come quickly for Oklahoma high school softball. We're just starting the month of October, but this afternoon, Miami hosts a Class 4A regional tournament. Lady War Dogs are the top seed after an 18-2 regular season. First game of the tournament between Oologah and Muldrow, not overly competitive. The Mustangs take it 11-1 in 6 innings. That means they play directly afterwards. Game 2 against the Lady War Dogs. Game 2 of the regional tournament, Miami on its home field, but is the away team on the scoreboard. So top of the first, Mizzou commit Sydney Forrester steals third base without even needing to slide. She'd later score on a hit by pitch. Later in that frame, bases loaded, Bailey McCarthy hits a line drive over the third baseman's head into left field. 2 runs will score. Lady War Dogs lead 3-0. Bottom of the inning, Danae Green pitching for Miami. She gets a ground ball here to Forrester over at short, flips to second for the fielder's choice. They nearly turn the double play. Next inning, runner on third, and Hayden Pilkington lays down a bunt, places it perfectly. Run will score, and she's safe at first. Lady War Dogs run away with it. Final score 11-1 after just 5 innings. Miami needs one more win tomorrow to earn a regional championship. Over to pro football. Chris Jones has been named the AFC Defensive Player of the Week. This comes after he caused havoc in Sunday's 17-10 victory over the Chargers in Los Angeles. Jones finished that contest with 2 sacks, 4 tackles, and 6 QB pressures. Most importantly, though, he has helped lead the Chiefs to a 4-0 start. They're in action again on Monday. They're taking on the Saints. Now to Major League Baseball. The Royals won their first postseason game in 9 years yesterday. That was 1-0 over the Orioles. And that sets up this afternoon's matchup. If Kansas City wins, it moves on to the ALDS. Royals at the Orioles, game 2. First inning, no score until Vinny Pasquantino drives this pitch into right field. 1 run will score, and just like that, the Royals lead 1-0. The third inning, same score. Roman Urias ropes this pitch deep, but MJ Melendez tracks it down at the warning track. Great catch. Orioles still yet to score a run in this series, and Seth Lugo loves it. 5th inning, Cedric Mullins comes up to the plate, and he crushes this pitch. Gone for a solo home run. There's Baltimore's first run, and just like that, we're tied at 1. In the 6th, though, 2 out, 2 on, Bobby Witt Jr. grounds one up the middle, and he beats the throw over to first for a single. 1 run will score on that play. Royals lead 2-1, so now in the 9th, same score, 2 outs. Lucas Urseg trying to get the save for the 2nd night in a row, and he does. Gets Gunnar Henderson to go down swinging. Royals win it 2-1. They beat the Orioles in Baltimore on back-to-back days. They're going to move on to face the New York Yankees in the ALDS. So yes, the Yankees do have the best record in the American League. Yeah. They won 94 games, but the Royals playing pretty hot right now, and just beating a team twice on their home field 2 days in a row, that's impressive.
And who doesn't love an underdog?
Yeah, of course. Royals definitely are the underdog here.
Absolutely. All right, thanks, John. We're back with more after this. In the wake of Hurricane Helene, many people have the thought of natural disaster on their minds. The 4-state region is no stranger to natural disaster and the impact it can have on immediate medical services. KOAM photojournalist Ty Parks takes us for a closer look at a modular hospital provided by Freeman Health System that has just such an event in mind.
We're doing a little mass casualty exercise. And it's what we're calling an alternate care site plan, where we've had to go off-site to take care of our patients. And we've been planning this for a while, and typically we do it for clinical staff. Today it was for the people that have to set up the facilities, that have to operate in these conditions. So it was a good learning chance for people that don't typically get to participate with us. When we saw what was going on down south, North Carolina, Florida, total devastation. Everything I'm getting from my people is nothing like we've ever seen. We saw the Joplin tragedy, but imagine that being 500 square miles where you can't get in or out of town. You have no water, no electricity, no phones. So I wanted everybody to take a few minutes and think about what could happen. What we've got today, behind me is a 24-bed modular facility. And this is an area where we can house patients until we can transport them to a better standard of care. We have a triage center set up that we can have 6 patients to triage in. We have mass communication, satellite, 5G, cellular backup systems, radios, emergency lighting we have on display, a number of different types of generator systems. So we put everything we have out for display, and let us practice with it today. You know, Freeman, we're not a first response agency, so if something is needed in Lamar, Nevada, Springfield, we'll take the facility to them, or they can come and get it. We'll help them set things up, but we're not there to staff everything. And that's why we invited all these other healthcare providers so they can see it firsthand. You don't want to do this in the middle of a disaster and never walk through it, never set anything up.
We'll be right back with more news after this. The commemorative Air Force Rise Above exhibit will take off at the Coffeyville Municipal Airport starting tomorrow. KOAM's Lonnie Walton gives us a preview of what visitors to the exhibit can learn.
The commemorative Air Force's Rise Above exhibit is stopping in Coffeyville. The exhibit tells the story of the Tuskegee Airmen and the WASP.
The exhibit itself will actually have a semi-truck that we just watched pull in. It will have different artifacts and it'll have a movie playing, and then we'll actually have an airplane that will fly in.
You know, it's part of history, and it's a part of history that people really don't know about.
Bob Ruski's father started the Aviation Heritage Museum. He says it's important the Air Force is alive and close to Coffeyville.
We want to keep this going so that we won't forget where the Funk airplanes came from, and keep Coffeyville kind of on the map because of what the Funk brothers have done for Coffeyville.
Lisa Brookover is a board member of the Coffee Heritage Museum. She says the exhibit is a big deal to Coffeyville because of the airmen.
Montgomery County had 6 Tuskegee Airmen, and Coffeyville had 1, Othell Dixon.
Ruski says exhibits like this one helps his father's dream live on.
I wanted to basically keep the legacy going of the Funk brothers.
Reporting in Coffeyville, I'm Lonnie Walton, KOAM News.
The Rise Above exhibit runs in Coffeyville through Sunday. Well, that's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. From all of us here at KOAM, have a great night.